GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com presents Bhagavad Gita for All, lectures by Nalan K. Narula, recorded in front of a live audience.
Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadadaine. Namaste Narasimhaya Praladadadaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatanka nakalaye. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatanka nakalaye. Ito narsimha parato narsimha yato yamitato narsimha. Ito narsimha varato narsimha yato yamitato narsimha. Bahir narsimha hriday narsimha narasimham adim sharanam prapadde. Bahir narsimha hriday narsimha narasimham adim sharanam prapadde. Tava kara kamalavare nakham adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubhringam. Tava kara kamalavare nakham adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubhringam. Keshavadhrita narhari rupa jai jagadisha hare. Jai jagadisha hare. Jai jagadisha hare. Keshavadhrita narhari rupa jai jagadisha hare. Jai jagadisha hare. Jai jagadisha hare. Jaya Narsingha Dev, Jaya Narsingha Dev, Jaya Narsingha Dev, Jaya Narsingha Dev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnananjanan Shlakaya Chakshurunvilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. We were studying chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, the qualities of material nature, and we had completed text 14.5, where Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna the intricacies of material nature and how it captures the living being, where it originates from. And he had last said in the fifth text, Sattvam Rajas Tama iti Guna Prakriti Sambhava Nibadhananti Mahabahu Dehi Dehinam Avyayam. The material nature is impregnated by me and has three qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And when the living beings come in contact with this nature, they become conditioned by these three qualities. Now, we had explained earlier that the Mahat Tattva, the place where all the elements are lying in weight, inanimate, which comes from the Lord's separated inferior energy, when it is infused by his superior energy of vision, he glances at it and impregnates the material nature. It is called Pradhan before that in its unmanifest form. And when he impregnates it with his internal potency, it becomes Prakriti, which is the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And all the living entities then are generated from that. So today we will start with text 6, text number 6 of chapter 14, and study that. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam sukha sangena badhnati jnana sangena cha anagha. So tatra sattvam nirmalatvat. After that, the mode of goodness, the quality of goodness, which is very pure and clear, and the purest and the clearest in the material world, and it is also prakashakam, illuminating, and anamayam, that which does not give any sinful reaction. And anagha is sinless one, referring to Arjun, that you are sinless. And those who associate with this mode of goodness, they are conditioned. They are conditioned by association. Badhnati means bound or conditioned. To jnana sangena cha anaga. Sukha sangena badhnati. They are bound, but they are bound to happiness and knowledge. So the thing is that all the material modes of nature, even if it be mode of goodness, is binding. The only mode of spiritual nature that is non-binding is Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, which is not have any of these binding qualities of material nature. But of the three lower natures that cause illusion in the living entity, the mode of goodness is the purest and clearest in the material world, because it gives illumination and is peaceful, it generates peacefulness, and there is no sinful reaction. And those who are associating with this mode are conditioned with attachment to knowledge and happiness. So here in this category you have people like Brahmins, you have educators, teachers who are connected to knowledge, that is their interest, that is what they are attached to. And they are also thinking that this is happiness. So scientists also come in this. Any scientist, any philosopher, they are in this category. But the problem is that they are not escaping from the material world also. Although they may be in the highest category of being connected to the purest quality of nature, as is found in the material world, these are not things that are going to help them to escape, but of course are preferable for a number of reasons, as we will come to discover further on. So in 14.7, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sang sambudbhavam tan nibadhnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. So Rajo ragatmakam vidhi. So the mode of passion is born out of lustful desire, and that thirst for sense enjoyment by association. It is coming, association of this mode creates this lustful nature, hankering. Trishna means hankering, thirst. And nibadhnati is again bound, conditioned. Conditioned sounds more soft, but actually it is bound, attached, linked in a way which leads us to remain in the material world and work for kama sangena dehinam. So the living entity, dehinam, means the consciousness that is in the body. So we know that the soul is pure and is the consciousness that is having these associations, not the soul. But the consciousness originates from the soul. It is somehow associating with this karam sangena, fruitive activity. That means working for results. So people will say working for results is not bad, is what you should do. But actually working for results is in the mode of passion, and it is endless, because the desiring capacity is endless and is not going to finish in a hurry. and people are inspired, I should work to get this kind of sense enjoyment or that kind of sense enjoyment. And in the pursuit of that sense enjoyment, they are working for fruitive results, they are working for some results which may or may not come, or may not come to the extent they like and want, and that creates a lot of disturbance. And this Trishna business is very, very important to understand. It is a hankering, it is a thirst, it is a greed, that one is hungry for this, and it is like a hunger that can never be satiated, so it is creating a lot of disturbance. So this is the mode of passion, and the person works too hard to support various things, to achieve various objectives, to be one up in society, to be providing for family, and it can go on and on endlessly, and there is no end to it, and the person is just working like that till the end of his life and not realizing that there is a higher and a greater purpose. And this is basically all kinds of false ego enjoyment, sense enjoyment, desire for name and fame, desire for wealth. So this is creating problem. So these are all binding situations. Then we have 14.8. Tamasto ajnana jam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidra abhistan nibhadnati bharata. This is a serious mode of nature, which is tama, ignorance, darkness, the mode of darkness. The mode of darkness, those two have been dealt with, the previous two, that is the mode of goodness and darkness. But Krishna says, Tamastu ajnana jam vidhi. Tu means but. There was no but for the previous two. But the mode of darkness is produced from ignorance, and this is described as the quality of darkness and degradation born of ignorance. It deludes all living entities through bewilderment, laziness, and sleep. Alasya, Nidra. O son of Bharat, and the mode of ignorance covers knowledge and binds one to madness. Pramada is madness. Laziness, alasya, indolent, chilling out in bed, chilling out at home, sleeping, doing no work. It's the grossest of ignorance. And yet that creates madness. So what is madness? Not being able to see the truth. A mad person does not see the truth, even if it is pointed out to him, even if he is faced with it, he will never understand it. So he is like a crazy person. So one of the questions that was put to Yudhishthira Maharaj, that what is the most amazing thing, what is the most strange thing about people? And Yudhishthira Maharaj thought about it. He said, the most strange thing is that all around me I see people dying, and I don't think it's happening to me. So that is gross ignorance. So we are going on through life and just carrying on as though we will never end, and we never plan for what we are going to do after the end of the body. We don't plan where we are going next. That is madness and that is ignorance. So we are busy engaged in activities for today. We are busy trying to enjoy and relax and do as little as possible and so on. or we are attached to knowledge and we are attached to happiness, but or to the fruitive activities, but we are never working in a way. We may have theories. So a madman has theories, yes, this is right, but he doesn't do it. He will agree with everything because it is the path of least resistance, and yes, we will all die. So what are you doing about it? Well, there is nothing to be done. That is ignorance. And the key word but is very important, because you think, but this affects all living entities, not just a few. Don't think that because you are sometimes in the mode of goodness or passion that you are escaping this, because it is sarvadehinam, every single living entity. Not just those who you can visibly see are sleeping and lazy and averse to working. So this nature, talking about this nature, is widespread throughout the universe among all living entities. So a person who is sleeping, intoxicated, he is inactive, that is mode of ignorance and mode of darkness. So such a person thinks that just by mental speculation and mental thinking and mental things he can manage his life or improve it. And for example, that I am connected to Brahma, Brahminical energies, either of Reiki or of the Brahminical system, and just that is enough. I don't have to do anything else. Everything will happen on its own. I just have to order that energy. That is grossest of ignorance and darkness. So one has to be very vigilant to check oneself, because this is not something that doesn't happen to you. It is happening to you. Consider the fact that as long as you are needing a lot of sleep, that is happening. So 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep is usually enough. And if a person is lazing around more than that, that is an external sign of the mode of ignorance. Of course, if someone is unwell, he may need more sleep for some time, but that is not normal. If you are a growing child, you need more sleep, maybe 12 hours a day. Even as a teenager, you would need actually about 12 hours of sleep. That is not ignorance, that is a requirement. But in the rush for achievement, the mode of passion, they disregard that, and that affects their mental and physical health also. So psychological development, mental health, emotional development doesn't take place as well if they are allowed to sleep more, because that is when the body and the brain develops. During the mode of sleeping, there are biochemicals released, human growth hormone and so on, and that also make you more intelligent eventually. But when you lack those, that can adversely harm your health. So certain amount of sleep is required, but not just all the time lying passive. This passiveness, passive nature is ignorant nature. So in the world around us, we see this passive nature in let's say in the form of trees. The same living entity is the same quality of soul or consciousness is in trees, but it is very hidden now, because it is concealed, it is very passive, it can't even move. Tree cannot move really, and it cannot talk. It is just having some senses to sense the environment, sense the elements, and there is an automatic system in its body, as there is in all the living entities, that keeps the body running. That comes from the divine actually, but the entity in that body has no choice but to act according to the nature of the body. So an animal is also ignorant, but it is better than the tree because it is mobile and its senses are more acute than that of a tree. A stone is grossly ignorant. If you have some elements like corals that grow almost like stone or wood, under the sea, and they are also very bound up in this ignorance. So this is how the entity goes from goes to different bodily forms depending on what his association is. So association is very, very important. So it is clearly stated here that it is a matter of association, and it is a matter of desiring, and it is a matter of your understanding. So these things have to be kept in view. So text 10 of the 14th chapter, Krishna says, Rajas tamascha bhibhuya Sattvam bhavati bharata Raja sattvam tamaschaiva Tamas sattvam rajas tatha. So Raja tama cha abhibhuya. Abhibhuya meaning overcoming. Sometimes the mode of goodness overcomes the modes of passion and ignorance, O son of Bharat. At other times, passion overcomes the mode of goodness and ignorance. And at still other times, the mode of ignorance overcomes goodness and passion. Thus, these three material modes of nature fluctuate in their influence constantly. So at some times, one is more predominant than the other. So this predominance affects the thinking, it affects the actions of the living entity. All three are binding, but Krishna has made it clear that the last one, the ignorance aspect, is very bad because it deludes you. It does not allow you to connect with the truth of the reality of who you are. So this is opposite of the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness allows you to understand who you are, but agyan means the one which is having a degraded or deluded understanding of what is knowledge. So an ignorant person also thinks he is very knowledgeable. So it is not a matter of thinking, it's a matter of absoluteness, that whether the person is being able to connect with the reality and the truth or he is not. So where the person is not able to do this, that is mode of ignorance. And these three material modes are constantly jostling with each other, fighting for supremacy, fighting for, in a way, battling it out, that which one will come up. So this is when you say that, I know I shouldn't do this, but I am driven to do this. So the knowing is coming from mode of goodness, and I am driven to do this is coming from passion. I am helpless. And then we can be indulging in certain things which contribute to the mode of darkness. And that is again keeping us away from true knowledge of who we are, and therefore we are bound. This binding means that I am bound to attachments to the material world through these material modes of nature. These three qualities are actually responsible for my delusion, my overall delusion of who I am, and it keeps me attached to this world. So the demigods are thinking in that way. The mode of goodness, Brahman is thinking. And he is also thinking, he has a false ego in the mode of goodness. I am more superior. I have knowledge. And the mode of passion is, I am superior because I can actually take action against people, or I can overpower people. The controlling aspect comes up very strongly. And the mode of ignorance is just totally lost actually. Mode of ignorance, the person is completely bewildered, lost, and like a mad person. Inactive, lazy, sleeping all the time, depressed, that is depression. So that is actually a form of madness according to Lord Krishna, because you are thinking nothing else is important except this. So we will pause here at text 10 of the 14th chapter, and if there are any questions about these texts, 14.6 The quality of goodness is the purest and clearest in the material world and is illuminating, peaceful, and without any sinful reactions. O sinless one, those who associate with the mode of goodness are conditioned with attachment to knowledge and happiness. 14.7 is the quality of passion is generated from the desire to enjoy and lust, O son of Kunti, and this enslaves and binds the embodied being to work at result-oriented fruitive activities to satisfy their unquenchable thirst for sense enjoyment. And 14.8, the quality of darkness and degradation is born of ignorance, deluding all living entities through bewilderment, laziness and sleep, and forgetfulness of their true nature, thus binding them to material existence. It is described in 14.9, it is described that the mode of goodness binds one to happiness, the mode of passion binds one to action done for material results, O son of Bharat, and the mode of ignorance covers knowledge and binds one to madness. 14.10, sometimes the mode of goodness overcomes the mode of passion and ignorance, O son of Bharat. At other times, passion overcomes the mode of goodness and ignorance, and at still other times, the mode of ignorance overcomes goodness and passion. Thus, the three material modes of nature fluctuate in their influence constantly, battling each other for supremacy. So, if there are any questions about this, I will answer some questions. Whatever, if you have the guidance, you have the connection to the Brahminical energies of Reiki or any other Brahminical life force, universal life force energies, and you are working to liberate yourself from karmic bindings through offering all your work to Krishna, to Reiki, chanting the Maha Mantra with the understanding of where everything is originating from and which is Krishna, and you are planning your life in that way that I get to satisfy whatever obligations are there in my life, and I work towards my personal emancipation or liberation from the universe, which is the universe of birth, death, old age and disease. I want to be free of this, and I want to be in service to Krishna. So I want to go beyond dharma, arth, kam and moksha and go to the point of service to Krishna, which is what will really make me happy, and that comes from the mode of goodness, understanding, translating, eventually bumping you up to the mode of Shuddha Sattva once you are connected or initiated to the Sattvic healing energies, the Shuddha Sattvic healing energy. So that is also known as Vasudeva consciousness. Vasudeva consciousness means that you know Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanvan Mam Prapadyante Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatmana Sudurlabha. So such a great soul is great because out of millions and millions of great souls, out of those, very few know who I really am. Krishna says that I am everything, I am the source of everything, I am the creator of everything, I am the father of all living entities. And I have given you the independence to decide what you want to do in life. So, accordingly, you associate and are guided and you work.
So, sir, there are people who are only involved in, bhajan, kirtans and satsang at
Yes.
the very end of their life.
Hmm.
And, let's say, sir, around 50s, they turn towards this thing.
Okay.
That, we are turning that, and they leave all their obligations towards a family.
Fine.
So, is that recommended, sir?
Well, it is recommended. It is a recommended path that you provide for your family, and then you spend the rest of the time in uplifting yourself to this consciousness and working in that way in life. See, without action you cannot be. But it is said that you must act in a way that is inaction. So inaction means you are not creating future binding consequence karmas. The highest form of action is inaction. And what doesn't mean that you go into the mode of darkness and you lie in bed saying, I'm inactive. That's the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. And don't act, don't do anything. Things are happening on their own. This is all madness, talk, nonsense. It is that you work with akarma energies, the super karma that liberates you from birth, death, old age and disease, and that you have to be active. Krishna right in the beginning tells Arjun, when Arjun wanted to retire to the forest and meditate and give up all his responsibilities, saying that for you to talk like that is foolishness. You are quoting scriptures, and this is your question also, that at the, I should retire and leave my responsibilities, but not prematurely. So Arjun was prematurely wanting to leave. So if you are middle-aged, beyond 35, 40, 50, 60, middle-aged is technically after the age of 30, but 50 is the age when you start to look into detaching yourself. That is the vanaprasth stage. Up to the age of 75, technically that is when you are ready to take sannyas, means detach yourself completely. It is not easy, it is very difficult. Because today's sannyasis are very well looked after, and all their followers are making sure they live like royalty. So it is not that kind of sannyas. Sannyas means I am only dependent on the divine. I don't stay more than 3 days in any one place. If food comes, fine. If somebody gives me food, I ask for food, they give me. I do not cook. I'd stop lighting the kitchen fire. That is one of the qualifications of sannyasi. And so many lovely sannyasis love to cook. They write cookbooks. So we do not know what they are. But we do know that they may be encouraging their followers in certain ways, in the best way that they can. So we should not think in terms of those divisions, because those divisions are not applicable to the degree they used to be. They are being corrupted because of the inabilities of the human beings of this time and age. So you work with the understanding that while you are not officially going to be a sannyasi, that is not your job in this lifetime, you have a detached view. And not worry about what is going to happen to your descendants once you have fulfilled your obligations towards them. And you worry about yourself. So this attachment to wife, to husband, to children, to family is an impediment after a while. While it gives you the ability to pay off your obligations, your karmic debts, it also then binds you to future karmic debts, because then you remain attached. You do not know when to detach and how to detach. So then sometimes the divine will arrange for you. Sometimes the children will not come. So then you don't have that obligation left anymore. So instead of hankering for children all the time and crying and lamenting, my life is a waste, understand that this is an opportunity for you to progress. So many such things are there. So the nature will come and intervene, and you may think it's a very cruel, very hard, very bad. Other people who are not so deserving, they are getting all these benefits. I am not. But actually it is a blessing. But the question is, if you don't understand it, you can make your life miserable. If you are not prepared to understand it, then it will lead you to madness. So one has to see the totality. So if you are not seeing the totality, you are in trouble. Anything else?
Mansi has a question.
Yes.
Good morning, sir. Could you please explain text 7 one more time? In our day-to-day activities, we perform various tasks thinking a goal or result in mind. How can we work in a way that we do not work in the result-oriented manner? If we channel healing to all the power activities in our day, does it take care of that attitude?
You are going to be influenced or inspired to act because of your obligations. So that is Karma Yoga. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita talk about Karma Yoga. And Reiki is part of that. That you are channeling healing to all that you do. Everything. Good, bad, indifferent, ignorant, knowledgeable, passionate, everything you are sending healing. So that is a karma, super karma is being overlaid or infused into your actions, and it is gradually elevating you. We have given this example earlier also, that as a healer progresses in his life, when he is channeling healing to things, he becomes very detached from the results. So then he is not working in that fruitive mode. He is working automatically, as it were, but he is not really concerned too much about the results, because he is elevated to the mode of goodness and then Shuddha Sattva beyond that. He is doing his duty of channeling healing, you can say. So in the beginning, yes, we are inspired to channel healing because we want certain results. Otherwise, why will we do it? Because that's the way we are, in the mode of passion. So today, all of society is in the mode of passion. They are not satisfied with less. They are always looking at neighbor, looking at this one, that one, my friend, my chap living next door, my classmate who was in college is doing so much better than I am. So that is your karma and your balance sheet of karma, and that is their balance sheet of karma. You cannot swap one for the other. You cannot assume because the other person has it, I must also have it. So that is also greed. So that is coming from passion. So you have to understand the downsides of it and see that the upsides are that you are paying off your karmic debts. So fine, but internally getting hyper about it, getting over excessively obsessed, this obsession is coming from this mode of passion. So that is text number 7. That what does the mode of passion mean? It translates into all these kind of actions. So you have to handle it carefully with this understanding that it's there, I'm using it, I'm channeling the healing, and if something doesn't happen, if the result doesn't come, it should not unduly disturb me, and finally it should not disturb me at all. So you'll find different levels of disturbance coming depending upon your evolution and your capacity. So in time you'll channel healing very, you can say, detached manner. Very detached manner. Okay, you had a question? Yes.
So we should actually not, with this understanding of today, that all the modes are binding.
Yes.
Whether it's goodness, so we should not judge people in that way.
Oh no,
And
it
we
is.
should actually, the only thing we really need to do is to send the healing, so that there's nothing else we can actually do.
No, you have to assess the people, you have to judge who is in what position. You're not passing judgment. But you need to know the difference between these three. You see a person is in the mode of ignorance like a mad person. How will you deal with him? How will you deal with a person who is more intelligent or knowledgeable? How will you deal with a person who is totally passionate? You will deal with them all differently, is it not? As a doctor, when you come across a person who is deranged, you can't talk sense to him, can you? Then? So, we are a person in the mode of darkness is deranged. Which is why psychiatrists, when they are questioned even in legal cases, they say that everybody is crazy to some degree or deranged to some degree, because that is a fact. Everybody has their own delusions. So this is the delusion of derangement that is affecting every living entity. They are thinking, I am this body and I have to enjoy from this body. So channeling healing is fine, but you need to be aware of the distinctions between the different qualities that are being manifest in a particular living being. And then you will deal accordingly. You cannot channel healing to a wild animal who's attacking you and expect him to, calm down and relax and chill out and not eat you up or attack you. So sometimes a person is also deranged, committing murder, committing things like that, violent attacks. So that is madness. So those are all symptoms of craziness. Pramada. Intoxication. Pramada also includes the meaning intoxication. So what is the intoxication? Toxic matter. Toxic matter is polluting your consciousness. So this toxic mode of ignorance is polluting the consciousness. So intoxicants are that only. It deranges your normal consciousness and faculties. So this is the subtle derangement, and the most subtle is that I am the controller, which is the origin of the false ego, that I want to be the controller. Yes.
So very grateful to you for just enlightening us on the aspect of the space we are in. You, as an opportunity.
Right.
Furthermore, sir, what I understood is that if I am sleeping more than 7-8 hours, I am ignorant.
You are in the mode of ignorance if you are sleeping too much.
So, if we combine these two, the space element, like if I am into a isolated space or not very crowded space, and how to come out of this, best utilize this, how to sleep less rather.
How to sleep less? Well, you should sleep as much as your body needs. So if you are sleeping 10, 12 hours a day, that is a problem. That means there is likely a depression. So that is mode of ignorance and darkness. So you have to understand what is the depression about. You have to figure out why you are being affected. What are your desires that are causing this problem? Because the problems are only coming from your desiring and your attachments. So unfulfilled desires make you depressed. And that depression leads to mode of darkness. And that is actually a sign of mode of darkness, is depression. Ignorance. Not being able to come to terms, so to speak, with the reality. Because you want to be the controller and say, no, it has to be different. So if you leave everything, so many times it has been suggested that one should not work too much, not make too much effort to gain anything, and one should not desire too much and be satisfied with gain that comes of its own accord. So satisfied with gain comes of its own accord. Krishna had pointed out earlier parts of the Bhagavad Gita that there is so many things happening in the background to give you a karmic consequence, to give you a certain result, and you are thinking it is me, I did it. So he's saying that is again ignorant and passion. So you have to understand that there's a whole background of things that are working to deliver to you certain conditions, certain opportunities, certain results, certain consequences of what you do, and sometimes they are different than what you expect, and that is modified by your karmic bank balance and what is considered desirable for you by the divine. So Krishna will not give you sometimes things as a healer that you want, and it will give the other person who is not a healer, because then that person needs to learn the hard way. You already learned, so you will be treated differently. Certain benefits will be withheld, which you see happening with other people, because you are no more fit for those benefits. You have elevated beyond it, but the hankering is still there, the thirst is still there. That's passion. So the mode of passion is very dangerous. You step out one step further and you are in the mode of ignorance. In gross ignorance, I would say. Ignorance everyone is in. Krishna says very clearly, all living entities are deluded. What the consciousness in the body is deluded about its true state. That is ignorance. I am thinking I am this body. That is ignorance. So that is the final ignorance that you need to get rid of. So that means what? Your body and the expansions of your body. My family, my circle, my associates. Not so easy. So you have to carry on by doing your healing and being aware of this, that while there are people who will walk with you for a while in your life, eventually you are walking with the light. Sometimes the light is obscured, the light of knowledge, and then you have to be very, very cautious. You have to keep associating with the mode of goodness and Shuddh Sattva. Keep associating with the healer community, because if one person is going down a little bit in their consciousness, just by associating with them, their consciousness will rise. So the most important thing that has come out of this is that it depends on your association. So satsang means to associate with the truth. It is not the mode of goodness, it is beyond goodness. Truth is beyond goodness because that is absolute. So you need to associate with the absolute truth, which is the spiritual master, which is the spiritual teachings, which is the community of healers, the Sangha, the group, the society. So that is a fundamental requirement. If you are not associating with other healers, you are in big trouble, because you can fall off the grid anytime and be deluded into this mode of darkness, thinking, oh, I am very enlightened, I can make it on my own. Very few people can. Let us assume we are not one of those. It is safer. Let us assume we are not so intelligent. It is safer. So not like the Brahminical false ego. I am very humble, I am your humble servant, but internally I am saying I am so much more knowledgeable, I am so much more smart than you are, you poor karmi, you sinful sense enjoyer, I am more superior to you. So that is something that you have to be vigilant about. Okay?
So please elaborate a little bit more on assessment versus judgment. So you use these words.
Well, use them interchangeably. I am saying don't be judgmental,
Haji sir.
but you must judge whether this person is in this condition or that condition. You can call it assessment or you can call it judgment. In my judgment, this person is requiring medical treatment for derangement. A doctor will say. In my opinion, they will phrase it that this is my opinion.
That's assessment.
That's assessment. That is judgment and
Judgment
assessment.
is a conclusion.
Yes, this is also a conclusion, but it is couched as an opinion, so that maybe I'm wrong. So if 2 or 3 doctors qualified in their field give the same opinion, then it's a judgment. That you are adjudged to be in this condition and you require this treatment.
And that won't be tantamounting if you're using it in that form and with that truthfulness. That won't tantamount to being a controller position or a...
It might still be, because I'm more knowledgeable than you. So you can't really escape it. I am the exercise of my profession or occupation. I am more knowledgeable than you, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I am and you wouldn't be where you are. But the point is not that. The point is that I am in the exercise of my requirement of my position. I am taking a certain stand. Whether I am a mode of passion administrator or an army man or a politician, these are all mode of passion people, that they are in the mode of passion. But they can do good if they are properly engaged. Just like Arjun was a Kshatriya. The Kshatriya class is in the mode of passion. They are active. And the Kshatriyas want to show off a lot. Lot of parties, lot of sense enjoyment, pomp, circumstance, kings, rajas, So all that is going on. The princes. So that is all mode of passion, and there is a lot of false ego also. But it channeled properly, it is channeled in the right way, it's fine. Because that is how the society is built. But individually, internally, what you do is a different matter. There were many kings like Ambarish Maharaj. He was a great king, but he was very humble. But he performed his kingly duties, all the pomp, show, circumstance, everything he was showing, great opulence. So that is the nature of Kshatriya or nature of kings or mode of passion. But it didn't bring him down. And then there are other kings that are brought down because of this. It's a very difficult path. So, attachment is there. The condition of being superior is there. But if you keep doing keep connecting to the healing energy, internally it is different. So then it is like the judge who is going to court and he's passing judgment, sentencing people to death even. But at home, when he's not wearing his robes, he is a husband, he is a father, he is a son. So there are different roles that everyone plays. It is not fixed. So in the fulfillment or in the exercise of your occupation or profession, you may do certain things where you are required to be judgmental. Sure. If you are a teacher, you are required to be judgmental in the sense of judging, this student is good, bad, what he needs. And I have to assess. I can't say everybody is equal. That's artificial. Everybody is equal in quality, yes, being living being, having the soul consciousness, having the super soul within them. So that equality is there, regardless of their body. And they are at a certain elevated level of consciousness. Human being level is considered to be more elevated than animal. But if the human being is not educated about his reality, then he is as good as animal. Mode of ignorance. Animals are in the mode of darkness and ignorance. So if a human being is not educated in that sense, not knowledgeable about the reality of the universe, reality of who he is as good as an animal, because animals are also enjoying life. They have their families, they have a social structure, they eat, they sleep, they defend themselves, fear is there. All these things exist in human society also. What sets human society separate is this factor only, the ability to understand. A dog cannot understand any of what we are speaking today. But by association with a healer, dog can get uplifted in his next life. So any association you have with spiritual energetics, the people who have that energy, they can be uplifted. So that is the whole point of satsang. That even if you associate, even if you are foolish, stupid, whatever, ignorant, fool, whatever you want to call yourself, but you just keep associating. And that will create the change, because that is the magic of association. So association in the material nature works in this way, and association in the spiritual nature also imparts its quality. So which is why it is very important to associate either in person or through the teachings or through meditating on those teachings or the divine or chanting the Maha Mantra, because that is direct association with the divine.
So there's one question from Nidhi.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. If you know someone is in mode of ignorance or is not, beg your pardon. If you know someone is in a mode of ignorance,
That person is, you can see in the mirror. The person who is in the mode of ignorance. Are you talking of someone other than that?
it looks like she
All right.
or
Okay.
is a not right behavior pattern, the need to take action to correct him or her is not there. One is in healing and want to maintain distance, don't want to get involved. Is it the right thing to do?
It depends if you have responsibility for correcting that person or not. If you don't have the responsibility and you don't have the authority to correct that person, then yes, you stay at a distance and send healing. If it is your responsibility and you are trying and the person is not responding, then also yes, you can keep your distance. But then if there are close family members who are acting like this, then you have to deal with the downside also. So be ready for all that. And then don't say I sent healing and the person didn't change, because you did not change your position enough to make them change. So if that's the way they are and you cannot do anything about it, the best is, yes, accept it, you protect yourself and you carry on. So I similarly advise a lot of ladies who are usually complaining about their husband or their children. And I said, you do what you can do, and beyond a level you cannot enforce anything. So leave it. Channel the healing, that wisdom is there, and you be peaceful and calm. And be prepared for the worst. Hope for the best. Channel the healing for the best outcome. But if something not good is happening, then you will deal with it at that time. You have to do your preparation. See, everyone has their own life pattern. They have their own karma. Just because you are in this mode of working with the spiritual energies doesn't mean automatically that family members are all going to subscribe to this, or people you have responsibility for will subscribe to this. So it is a voluntary thing, and it is also a matter of education. So that's why education and knowledge is extremely important. Understanding things rightly, correctly. The uniform thread of understanding must be there throughout. Whatever the teachings are, they should not be contradictory. So if that is a very big qualification to have, if the teachings are not contradictory. So the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita we have seen are absolutely perfect. They're for all time. So even today, the knowledge is applicable. From time to time, people give commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita to explain according to time, place and situation. And the knowledge is there, but the way of teaching it changes. The delivery is different, the connectivity is different, because reference points are different. So if one is able to connect with the reference points that you have in your life by your own experience, then that becomes more meaningful to you. If somebody gives a very inspirational lecture about Bhagavad Gita but doesn't connect with you in your life, then it's gone over your head. You're leaving baffled at the end of it and saying, this is not for me. Sounds wonderful, but I am so degraded or fallen, I can't understand it. I'm a useless person. So it doesn't make you feel good either. So it has to be, the medicinal dose has to be according to the patient. So in Kali Yuga, this is the medicinal dose. You need to understand how it is connecting with your life. As long as our consciousness is attached to the body, we consider ourselves to be in ignorance. And in Bhagavatam, Krishna has said that it doesn't matter, even because the mode of passion actually in Bhagavatam he is stating is a very vicious mode. So he said, even if you are in the most vicious mode of passion, just by associating with my name, with my form, you will overcome it. So it is association. Association is extremely important. So as tight-knit a group you can get, the happier you are. And try and keep the politics as to the minimum, because politics will also come because of the passionate nature. I want to dominate. I want to call the shots. I want to be controller. I want to be guru. All those things. So when Guru is thrust upon you, it is always better.
Shloka saying, "Sir, please guide how to become humble, how to instantly remind oneself, especially when I'm feeling superior to someone." Later she says, "My question got answered." Great.
Okay. So I think we can conclude here today at text 10 of the 14th chapter, which are the 3 qualities of material nature of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, thank you for attending. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Nalan Kainarula on GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com.